Hello, everyone. We are live at the site of Super Bowl 57, Glendale, Arizona, State Farm Stadium, where the Eagles will take on the Kansas City Chiefs in just 3 days from now. The big game is upon us, along with Ben Kearse. I'm Laura Antonio. Ben, how's it going, and are you ready for the big game on Sunday?
I am, yeah. It's bittersweet always at this time of year to have the ending of football season come approach us, but the anticipation, after the last game, it feels like a while now. Typically that kind of that week after the championship games, it's just always a dull. So, Super Bowl week, had a lot of good stuff during the week. But now, we're right about to, for me now, the Friday coming up of Super Bowl Sunday, the hype, the intense, everything kind of around that. Of course, us with the Super Bowls with the Patriots for a while. Every time this year, this time of year, this week, it would just be the nerves kicking in, but always the kind of the bittersweet moment because unfortunately the way it is you win, the season's over, you lose, the season's over. But it's the best time of year, and I'm looking forward to a really good game between two really good teams.
Well, we're going to be talking about that. We also have some other news and notes around the NFL to talk about. Anyways, here we'll start with our Super Bowl 57 preview here. I'm going to call it the Andy Reid Bowl. What a great way to end the season. Andy Reid going up against his former team. You talk about coaches going up against their ex-teams in the Super Bowl. John Gruden with the Bucs against his Raiders, and you know what happened? The Bucs beat the Raiders back in the day in Super Bowl 37, and now we're seeing that with Andy Reid going up against the Eagles, and that's him going up against Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, it's that's one of the big storylines I'd say this week is you get to have a head coach from one of the teams take on a team that formerly was a head coach of with Andy Reid, one of the best coaches to ever coach this game. He's definitely trending upward, at least in that category. And yeah, I think it's just a really cool thing. You also have Travis Kelce, the brothers. Jason, of course, plays on the O line. Travis is, of course, playing tight end for the Chiefs, one of the best tight ends, probably the best tight end now in football. And so I think for us Patriot fans, it's two teams. For me personally, I have respect for the Chiefs. I'm not a big fan of them. I'm not going to, sit here and say I like them, but they're respectable. They're a team that, of course, is kind of the standard now in the AFC, for years to come. And you have a team in Philadelphia with, a team that's kind of, the number one seed pretty much the whole entire season. And they just Jalen Hurts and company, they've had a really good year. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be coming down to a lot of things. We'll talk about those things coming up. But yeah, I'd say the two storylines, of course, are Andy Reid's getting the chance to play his former team, and the Kelce brothers going to get a chance to go at it against each other and see who has the bragging rights of the brothers at the end. So.
Isaiah is not with us tonight, so he did say, "What's up, gents? Tuning in from Canada." He's in Vancouver right now, but maybe you never know. He might make a surprise appearance. Who knows about who he wants in the Super Bowl? But we're going to talk about who has the edge for both teams, for the Chiefs and the Eagles. So for quarterback, who has the edge at quarterback between the Chiefs and the Eagles? I'm going to go with Pat Mahomes, because I think that the Chiefs have the upper hand at quarterback than Philadelphia. I like Jalen Hurts, I do, but Jalen Hurts is not really a passer. Jalen Hurts is more of a guy that can make plays with his legs.
Yeah, it's easily the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is arguably probably the best quarterback in football. He is now, I know we'll talk about the awards, but he is officially the MVP again this year. And he essentially is in a category really in football where a lot of guys, he's essentially the Steph Curry of football, at least to me. A young guy that does a lot out there, scrambles, makes plays left and right. And he's just a figure in football that I'm in awe of a lot, still to this day. And Jalen Hurts has been a great story. I think he's an up and coming type of quarterback that I think is going to have a good future ahead for that Eagles team. But I think he's in that second tier type of category, maybe even that third. But Patrick Mahomes is definitely in that top elite type of tier. So yeah, I would have to no disrespect to Jalen Hurts, but Patrick Mahomes, even if Patrick Mahomes isn't at fully 100%, I'm taking a fully close to 100% Patrick Mahomes over Jalen Hurts.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But anyways, now we will talk about running back here. I mean, the Chiefs have gone running back by committee. Isaiah Pacheco's had a nice season. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I don't know if he's going to play, but I'm going to give the Eagles the edge at running back because if you look at it, Miles Sanders has had a great year, but I know the Eagles want to keep him next year because he's on a contract year. But I give the edge at running back for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I 100% agree. The Eagles, this is pretty much their offense really at its best. It's their running game. And that's going to be one of the biggest keys in this game. And I'll talk about the keys. The biggest key about the Eagles is they have a great, fantastic running game. That's big time because of their offensive line. They probably have the best offensive line in football. But I think personally with this Eagles team, you have Miles Sanders, who's had a fantastic year. You have Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell, two guys behind Miles Sanders that have been great, at least in this playoffs, and they've shown flashes here and there in the regular season. But yeah, this is a really good running team. The Chiefs, of course, with Pacheco, and they are actually activating Edwards-Helaire, because who's going to be Mecole Hardman is going to be declared out in this game. So they had to bring somebody up, and Edwards-Helaire is going to have the chance to play in this game. So even with Edwards-Helaire and Pacheco, no disrespect to them, they're great guys, great players. But I think that the Eagles I'm going to give in this edge because I think that they've shown it pretty much all year, and that's pretty much their go-to. So yeah, I'm going to give a slight edge to the Eagles in this matchup.
For wide receiver, for wide receiver, I don't mean to be biased here. I mean, the Chiefs don't have Tyreek Hill anymore, but Mecole Hardman not playing. I mean, that might be a bit of a factor. Juju Smith-Schuster and MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, both were unsung heroes this past 2 weeks ago against Cincinnati. But with that being said, when it comes to wide receiver here, I'm giving it to Philadelphia. And I don't mean to be biased, Ben, because I love Devontae Smith. I loved him at Alabama, and Devontae Smith is one of the best players on the team, and I do expect Devontae Smith to be a big factor in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you're fine the way you are because I'm going to give the edge to the Eagles as well. I think Kansas City has decent supplementary guys at weapons. MVS, Juju, Tony, who I think they'll probably use in some formations in this game. Harmon, I think, is low-key a big loss because you can use him in different ways. He's kind of a gadget-type player. He hasn't really been fully healthy as of late, but he would have been huge in this type of game, especially on, the punt return type of game. But, A.J. Brown is arguably a top 10 receiver in this game. Devontae Smith is up there in terms of one of the best receivers up and coming. And then you have other guys, you look at Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal, they have some complementary pieces as well. And the thing about the Eagles is they play really well at bouncing off of each other. So, I mean, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith are one of the best duos in football, receiver-wise. And I think the Chiefs have a very good supplementary group. I probably would have taken Tyreek Hill if he was still over there, which I'm probably taking the Chiefs just because Tyreek Hill is that good. But I'm going to give it to the Eagles in this one. I think the Chiefs, like I said, have a decent group at receiver, but I'm going to go with the Eagles, in their group.
So anyways, here now, with that being said, here we go to tight end. I mean, man, I don't know who I give the edge at tight end because, you talk about Travis Kelce versus Dallas Goedert. I like both tight ends, but I have to say the Chiefs have the edge at tight end. Although I like Dallas Goedert, I think Goddard is a decent piece for that offense, but I do think that the Chiefs have the edge at tight end. You get Travis Kelce involved, you give him the ball a lot in this game, and you know big things will happen for the Chiefs on offense.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much perfect as of right now in terms of our matchup wise. Yeah, Travis Kelce is probably the best dominant player, I'd say, potentially in this football game, outside of the outside quarterback Mahomes. But yeah, I mean, Kelce is pretty much the guy that pretty much slows that offense. I mean, if he's getting bracketed, if the Eagles have a very good scheme against Travis Kelce, they're doing their job for sure because they're going to let other guys beat them in the receiving core in this football game. But yeah, it's really hard to, put away Kelce for, full on, 40, 48 minutes. And I think with his overall play, I mean, he could beat you in so many ways. I mean, his blocking, his catching ability. I understand a little bit of the Kelce Gronk comparisons. I know it's kind of really crazy out of reach. I still think Gronk's the best. But as of right now, I mean, Kelce has shown that when he is going at his best and when he's just absolutely rolling and Mahomes and him clicking, it can get really scary because, he gets targeted a lot. Mahomes is definitely that's his go-to guy. Now, in terms of the Goddard and for the Eagles, they use Goddard in different formations. Jalen Hurts goes a lot outside the pocket. He rolls out a lot. They use it in different schemes, especially when a lot of people try to focus on stopping the run game, then it pretty much opens up flats and stuff like that. And that's where you can kind of use guys like Dallas Goedert and those specific passing formations. But yeah, I'm going to pick Kelce. Just because Kelce is just one of the best tight ends in football. No disrespect, like I mentioned, to Goddard. You think he's a great player. But yeah, Kelce definitely clears in this.
So, anyways, now with that being said, we talk about offensive line. I mean, the Chiefs' offensive line is good by all means, but I love the Eagles' offensive line. Jason Kelce is really the heart and soul of that team. Lane Johnson, I love Lane Johnson, the way he leads the locker room. He anchors that offensive line at right tackle. Landon Dickerson, my dude from Alabama, has had a great year. The Eagles have the best offensive line, so give me the Philadelphia Eagles that has the edge on the offensive line over the Kansas City Chiefs. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. My mic was muted. For me, too, I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think that they have probably the best line of football. You look at that offensive line. That's one of the biggest reasons why I think they're here is, they give Jalen Hurts a lot of time in the pocket to kind of read what's going on. They use a lot of run schemes, so the offensive line is busy all the time. And now with Lane Johnson back in the fold in the mix, that's absolutely humongous. It's definitely he's one of the best guys at avoiding sacks. On that side, they obviously have Jason Kelce in the middle. Their interior is very, very good. So, I think the Chiefs have a pretty good offensive line too in their aspect, but I think that the Eagles have just shown for the whole season that they're definitely the line. And if they win the Super Bowl, the offensive line is going to be the biggest thing, and it's going to be obviously one of the biggest keys to this game.
Anyways, now we go to the defensive side of the ball. Here we go with defensive line. So, who has the edge on the defensive line between the Chiefs and the Eagles? I mean, the Chiefs have a very good defensive line, led by Chris Jones. Frank Clark's had a nice season, but I kind of like the Eagles' defensive line bet over Chiefs is because I think they have the better players on that side of the ball than the Chiefs do.
I'm going to go Chiefs. I'm going to go the first one against you here. I think that the Eagles have a very, very good pass rush, and they can use it in different ways. But I think in this football game, I think the Chiefs are going to be able to disrespect Jalen Hurts. I think that Jalen Hurts isn't 100% fully healthy right now in this playoffs. And I think that if you put enough pressure, at least in that interior and outside with Frank Clark and Chris Jones, I think that it could, really give the Chiefs a big edge in this game. So both have a very good rush. But I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs specifically in this game have a better game than the Eagles defensively.
Anyways, now that being said here, now we talk about linebacking core or edge rushers. So I have to say that the Eagles have the advantage in edge rushing because I think Brandon Graham might be playing his last game. He's really the anchor on that side of the ball.
Sorry, say it one more time.
I was saying that for edge rusher, I think the Eagles have the advantage of edge rusher over the Chiefs.
I agree. They have Hassan Reddick and they have Brandon Graham. Hassan Reddick is up there for Defensive Player of the Year. I know he didn't get it tonight, but he's been absolutely just killing it. Of course, he really did wonders in that San Fran game. He was a great pickup for the Eagles, and I think that I agree with you. He's a huge reason why I'm picking the Eagles defensive edge wise in this matchup.
Now you talk about linebacker. I'm going to give the Eagles the edge at linebacker. I mean, Hassan Reddick is not really an edge guy. Hassan Reddick's a guy that can play in the middle of the defense.
Yeah, definitely. They can use Reddick a lot in different formations. And so, that's why I think that this game is so interesting because you have so much talent on both sides of the football. And so we're going to have to see where things go with it.
Now we talk about defensive backs. Who has the edge of defensive backs between the Chiefs and Eagles? I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles on for the defensive backs. I really like their defensive backs over Kansas City's because if you look at Kansas City's defensive backs, they're young, but they're growing. Juan Thornhill is going to grow over time to lead that secondary. But I just like Avonte Maddox, Darius Slay, and those guys better.
Yeah, the Eagles have a lot more of a veteran type of group. I think that the Chiefs secondary is one of actually their weaker spots in terms of their consistent wise. I think that the Eagles offense, if they give Jalen Hurts a lot of time in the pocket, it could be a long game because I think that, they have great young pieces. They have Trent McDuffie they drafted this past year. They have Thornhill and guys like that. But safety wise, safeties, I don't think that they really have much there. I know they had Tyrann Mathieu for a while. They had Sorensen, but there's not really a lot safety wise. I think for the Chiefs, I think the safeties for the Eagles are much better. I think that their overall scheme on things, I'd say for the Eagles and their outside and their safeties, and their secondary, I think is just better in general.
Now we talk about one key to victory to both teams for both the Eagles and Chiefs. For me, I'll start with the Chiefs. My key for them to win this Super Bowl is the offense. If Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce, those guys get to the Eagles' defense early, the Chiefs have a good shot at making it a runaway game. For the Eagles, for me, I think it's going to be more about Jalen Hurts and how he orchestrates this offense. For me, it's all about the offenses for both teams. But it's also going to depend upon, for me, who's going to win the turnover battle between on defense between Kansas City and Philly. Whoever has the turnover battle will win you the game.
Yeah, I've obviously emphasized that to you for a while when we talk about the Patriots. I think with this game, it comes down to a couple of things. Patrick Mahomes' health. That's obviously been one of the biggest stories for a lot of playoffs. I think personally, Patrick Mahomes will probably be at his best that we have seen so far in the playoffs until prior to the first game of the Chiefs divisional round. I think with 2 weeks instead of 1 week, I think that really at least gets him close to 100%. And I think you're going to have to at least have that against a really good defense that the Eagles present. I think that the Chiefs, another big thing is they're going to have to find a way to run the football. I know that the Eagles have a very good defense, really good stout, front. They're going to have to be able to, find ways to run the football in this football game. In the Super Bowl, you're going to have balance from both sides. And I think with the Chiefs, they're going to have to find a way to run the football. I think with Mahomes scrambling out a lot in this game, he's going to have to start making some plays, scrambling out. The offense, the battle of the trenches is too lower. That's going to be probably my second thing. If the Eagles win the battle of the trenches, I think they'll become Super Bowl champions this season, because I think personally that they're going to run the football. They use a lot of clock, take as much clock off of possessions from Patrick Mahomes and that offense from the Chiefs. And I think that you also win the turnover battle, like you mentioned. If you win the turnover battle, most times than not, you usually win the football game. It usually comes down to, at least in the Super Bowl, execution. Execution usually, if you have very good execution, if you win the battle of the trenches, that usually lacks a lot of laziness, and that comes to turnovers usually most of the time. So I think with the Eagles, they have to see how Jalen Hurts is. Jalen Hurts is going to have to make some plays like he did in that first half of his season, because, nothing to take away from him so far in this playoffs, but he hasn't been I don't think he's played to his potential kind of until we saw kind of in the first half of the season. I think it's really the Eagles have won a lot of their games because, at least in the playoffs, because they're really strong running game. They've been able to get some turnovers against the two teams that they faced. And of course, their defense. So Jalen Hurts is going to have a big game this game. I think that he will. Now, of course, we're going to get to who we have, winning.
All right. Now, let me go first with who I pick here. So Isaiah has his pick in for the Super Bowl. He has got the Chiefs winning 27-17. For me, I'm going to go a little higher than that. I'm going to pick the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Kansas City Chiefs 34-31. It's going to happen on a Jake Elliott game-winning field goal. And my pick for Super Bowl MVP will be DeVonta Smith, even though I like picking quarterbacks as Super Bowl MVPs. But I wanted to pick Jalen Hurts, but I think I'm going to go with DeVonta Smith. But also, I forgot to mention A.J. Brown. I think he's also going to be a big factor, but I'm just rolling with DeVonta Smith.
My pick for this year's Super Bowl is the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to have his second ring. My final score is going to be 24-21. I think it's going to be a very good game. I think it's going to have a pretty balanced attack from the beginning to the finish. I think personally it's going to come down to who has the ball at the end. And I think if you ask me who I'd rather want at the end in this game, I think I'd rather have Patrick Mahomes, because quarterback, of course, when it comes down to the final plays, I think Patrick Mahomes has more of the intangibles than Jalen Hurts right at the end. So I think that, Patrick Mahomes Patrick Mahomes is going to be down 21-17 this football game. And I think with about 30 seconds, right under a minute, I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to have a touchdown to Travis Kelce. And I think that the Chiefs are going to hold on. And Patrick Mahomes, I think, is going to win Super Bowl MVP. I think that, he is going to have, at least to me, obviously, I'm not saying it hurts for me as a Tom Brady fan and as a Patriot, because I know a lot of people have the early GOAT debate and stuff like that. But I think that the people are going to start putting Patrick Mahomes, in crazy conversations with other things, which is going to obviously drive me nuts. But Patrick Mahomes is a fantastic player. I think he's still the best player in the NFL as right now. And I think he's going to show it. I think he really is. And I think that, with him having that injury, I think it's going to overcome a lot of odds. And Andy Reid's going to have bragging rights against his former team in this game.
I think he will, but in my scenario, I'm predicting that we will see this game go to overtime. That's why I have Jake Elliott kicking the game-winning field goal. I think you're going to see both teams get possessions. I predict that the Chiefs the Chiefs have the football first to start overtime. They go 3 and out, and then Jalen Hurts leads them to a game-winning drive. I'm predicting an interception by Darius Slay, like at the 30-yard line, and then he gets pushed out of bounds, and then the Eagles slowly move the ball down the field here, and then I have Jake Elliott kicking the field goal from about 25 yards or something like that.
Gotcha. Well, we'll have to see, man. I'm really, really excited for this game.
So that's why I have this in my scenario. I have it going into overtime.
Gotcha.
Because I want to see the new rules in place. But now we're going to talk about our reaction to these award winners here. I mean, I didn't watch NFL Honors yet, but first off, let's start with our reaction to the offensive and defensive rookies of the year. Ooh, I mean, you talk about the New York Jets. So give me some sauce. And G-Dub, both winning offensive and defensive rookie of the year. You know what? I think both of those guys have bright futures with the New York Jets. They're going to be key pieces to their team. Garrett Wilson had a great rookie season. I expect big things out of G-Dub in his second year. Sauce, you know what you're going to expect from Sauce every Sunday. Shut down corner, and he's a guy that is only going to get better.
100% agree. I think they got these picks right. Sauce Gardner definitely has a great future ahead. He definitely never gets rattled. He's faced some of the really good receivers this year as a rookie, and he really held his own for a lot of the time. He has a lot of good instincts. Really, really good player that has a really great future ahead. Garrett Wilson, a really fun, exciting player. Obviously, loved him in Ohio State as an Ohio State fan. And I think with him, whoever plays with him next at quarterback for the Jets is going to have keep on doing really good things. I think Percy is their best receiver. The Jets also have Breece Hall. Breece Hall, if he didn't get hurt, I think would have been in conversation because he was tearing it up early on in that season. So the Jets still have a little bit of ways to go, but I think that they have a lot of good young pieces at least to kind of get to where they want to be. And Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson are two guys that I think are going to just really help them elevate to where they want to be down the road.
Yeah, if you talk about the Jets here and then kind of briefly talk about what's next for them in the offseason, do you still believe that the Jets are going to need a veteran quarterback to kind of help with this offense? And this Jets team has a win now roster.
Yeah, I think that Woody Johnson is going to finally pull the trigger and at least try to go and get a guy like Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if it's going to fully happen, but I think that they're going to do what they can.
I think it's going to more likely happen because I heard today that Derek Carr is likely going to be a Saint, like I called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't see Derek Carr now, looking at the Jets. I know that right now, Derek Carr, it seems like it's only one team, and they got to know by next week's deadline for Derek Carr if there's any other teams visiting. It seems like the Saints pretty much already have that at least close to being finalized. But I obviously have to talk about that when that comes. But yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be their number one target. If not him, probably would maybe take a look at potentially Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think they have to go the veteran route before they go on to the next specific thing. Because
do you still think Zach Wilson will be their starter next season? Or it's not looking good for him?
I don't think it's looking good. I think they kind of saw what they saw last year with him. I think personally it might be for the better to kind of have a full-on year of just learning stuff as him. He's a young guy. I think he has to really mature as well. I think that there's a lot of some growing pains, some kind of opening eyes for him to do, look at. So I think that ownership sees that. I think that the coaching sees that. I think that's why they benched him quite a bit. They really liked what Mike White was doing. But I think Mike White has a.
I don't think Mike White comes back, but I think that the Jets. I don't think the Jets are going to be better than Buffalo if whoever they get at quarterback, if it's Rodgers or something like that. The Jets are still stuck on the bottom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they got Rodgers, I mean, they definitely, with their really good defense, I mean, because they have some money, I think, to spend. They definitely could give some teams some fits for sure.
But you think that if Rodgers is a Jet, that's not going to leapfrog them over Buffalo?
I wouldn't think so. I still think that Buffalo has the best team. But Buffalo, they're going to be losing some pieces defensively. I think they got guys up in contract years. They have Tremaine Edmonds. They have Jordan Poyer, maybe Micah Hyde even. So we'll have to kind of see, because if that defense, a lot of their guys, veteran guys in that secondary, that defense, I'm not saying they're going to be all of a sudden, falling back down to earth. As long as they have Josh Allen for years to come, they're going to be. They're going to.
Well, you don't think the Bills are going to be falling down to earth like you're saying, is because I still think the Bills have a strong and talented team that I think are going to be great. But I'm talking about like when the Jets, if they get Aaron Rodgers, I don't think it puts them significantly over the hump over Buffalo or Miami or New England.
No, maybe over because if you look at that league,
I'm talking about our division, the AFC East.
Yeah, I mean, they could potentially be over us if they had a guy like Aaron Rodgers.
The Patriots still have the Jets number and Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Mac Jones, I think, is going to have he's going to have a much better season, which I can't wait to tell you why.
Yeah. I mean, nothing to disrespect for Mac Jones or whatever, but if Aaron Rodgers was a Jet, I'd probably lean more towards the Jets in terms of their ready offense. They have Rodgers, they have Breece Hall, they have Garrett Wilson, they have, that overall game. But as of right now, I'm still having the Patriots. Patriots right now over the Jets until they get somebody offensively at quarterback that would kind of show me otherwise. And
I think it's likely Aaron Rodgers to join our division.
That would kind of pull me. If they got a guy like Jimmy G, I still would think that I would still go kind of pick the Patriots. But if they went for a guy like Aaron Rodgers, then yeah.
Ooh, that's going to be tough. I'll tell you that. But anyways, our next reaction is to Offensive Player of the Year, and that goes to the Minnesota Vikings, Justin Jefferson. I'll tell you, that dude is insanely good. I mean, he has great skills, great hands. The dude is going to get better each and every year, and I think he is the reason why I think the Vikings have a successful offense. I mean, Kirk Cousins is good, but he chokes in bad moments.
Yeah, I mean, where would the Vikings be without Justin Jefferson? I mean, he's pretty much their best player on offense is Justin Jefferson. I mean, the guy is an absolute matchup nightmare. You can use him in every different types of ways possible. I mean, his stats this year were absolutely insane. This year he had 128 receptions for 1,809 yards. Anytime you have a 1,000+ yard receiver in this day of age, you're doing really good things. He had 8 touchdowns, so you wouldn't think that you have a lot more in terms of touchdowns. But Justin Jefferson is, when you look at complete receivers in this league, Justin Jefferson is a top 5 offensive receiver in football.
Imagine him with the Bengals with Chase and Burrow.
Yeah. I mean, I think personally that the Vikings hopefully can pay Justin Jefferson because he's that good. Because
they should definitely.
If Justin Jefferson was ever out there on the market, I mean, the amount of suitors that would try to get him, I mean, it'd pretty much be like, I don't know, I wouldn't say Jamar Chase type of level, but right there, I mean, he's up there with some of the really good receivers in these games. I mean, you can make a case that he's the best receiver in football. I don't think he is, but I think that at least he's in the consideration for sure. He is that good, and I've always lost sleep about the Patriots were a pick or two away from potentially getting Justin Jefferson, because he for sure would definitely do wonders with a guy like Mac Jones. But yeah, congrats to Justin Jefferson, 100% deserved. I'm kind of glad that they didn't give it to a quarterback, because they usually do it a lot to quarterbacks. But with his sensational season, he definitely is going to be getting better for sure. And, he already can show you that he's elite like a year like this year.
I think the Vikings are still going to have a great team next year.
They should. I mean, they obviously got Brian Flores now.
And we'll talk about him in a little bit, what he's going to bring and what schemes he's going to bring to Minneapolis. And I think he's a great pickup for the Vikings. But for Defensive Player of the Year, it's not Joey Bosa. It's Nick Bosa that won Defensive Player of the Year. That dude is a monster. I'll tell you. A guy that likes to get to the quarterback, a guy that just likes to terrorize offenses.
Yeah, I mean, you could really make an argument that Chris Jones, Michael Parsons, they could have made it, but congrats, Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa is one of the best interior guys, edge rushers, you name it, right there, one of the best fronts in this league. If it's not Aaron Donald, he's probably the best guy besides Aaron Donald. He presents pretty much every team matchup nightmare, and he's just a guy that you always want on your team because he just presents problems. You have to obviously take a look where he is on the field at all times because he can change a game on his own. He's that good. He could get out of double teams. He really has a lot of intangibles, like a guy like Aaron Donald. So, yeah, congratulations to Bosa for winning Defensive Player of the Year. Of course, Jones and Parsons could have had some votes. Deservedly, they could have won it, but I think the NFL also got this one right. I think Bosa's deservedly to get this.
Next up, we got to talk about Coach of the Year. This dude was a former New England Patriots assistant coach. He won 2 Super Bowls with us. He won a national title at Alabama. A successful offensive coordinator in Buffalo made Josh Allen one of the stars that he is today. That is New York Giants head coach Brian Daboll. And I'll tell you, that is a great choice. I really think that Brian Daboll is going to be a great coach. I mean, he's part of the Bill Belichick tree. And I'm telling you, Ben, he is I think he is out of the coaches on the Bill Belichick coaching tree. Brian Daboll, I think, is turning out to be the more successful head coach along with Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, congratulations to Brian Daboll. I know Nick Sirianni is in the Super Bowl. He could have had a case. I'm a little bummed out that Doug Peterson didn't make it. I'm not going to lie. Because I think that with Doug Peterson, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they were pretty much looked like from the early part of the season in the doghouse, and a lot of people kind of wrote them off. And he got them to a winning record of the season this year. He won their team the division, helped them win their team kind of overcome things in their division. And he really helped Trevor Lawrence become a much better quarterback with his progression this season. So I think if Brian Daboll, didn't change the culture for the Giants. Brian Daboll had a fantastic year for the Giants. He has a very good case to be coach of the year. I'm not saying he didn't, but I think Doug Peterson, it would have been a great story to see him because, with the Jacksonville Jaguars, they've been bad for so long. They finally got the right quarterback, and last year it seemed like that was going to be the case, but their coaching just really held them back. And then you saw what kind of early on was the case with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're like, here we go again. Things aren't looking great. What's going to happen with Doug Peterson? Then all of a sudden, there's something that there was clicking. And, he has a Jacksonville Jaguar. You look at Brian Daboll and Doug Peterson, 2 guys that have had 2 kind of losing franchises for whiles and years to come. In the past, they finally kind of got their teams to change their cultures. And, that's why low-roll coaching matters in this day and age in this league because you got a good coach, you got a decent quarterback. You should be always in the mix. You get a really good defense that adds kind of the cherry on top. But yeah, congrats to Brian Daboll. That Giants team was kind of stuck in the mud of mediocrity for years. Because they didn't have a great coach. And Brian Daboll, I think, is the right coach for that team. And he really kind of put them in a spot where they have a really good future. And they had a great year this year, kind of considering everything. Even winning the playoff game, I think, did a lot of good things for that team.
Well, next up, we got to talk about comeback player of the year. Who would have thought that this man would even play football again or be a starting quarterback? And the Seattle Seahawks basically found their successor to Russell Wilson, and that is Geno Smith.
Yeah, congratulations to Geno. I know a lot of people in Seattle were, of course, bummed about Russell Wilson moving on because, of course, what Russell Wilson brought to that team and that legacy, and deservedly so. He had a really great career there. So I think a lot of Seahawks fans were kind of worried about how this would go with Geno Smith. In the past, he hasn't been, a great quarterback. He's been kind of, mediocrity. I think a lot of Seattle fans are like, why are we moving on from one of our elite quarterbacks and Russell Wilson and getting this guy? And, they got the chance to play each other week 1 with Geno Smith and Russell Wilson. And And Geno Smith looked really, really good. And a lot of people were like, maybe it's just this one game. Things could potentially were just going to Geno Smith's way. But I think after the game, Geno Smith had some really interesting words saying that, saying they wrote me off. A lot of people don't give me, um, any type of credit. And it wasn't just a one-off with Geno Smith. He had a very good year, and he's going to have a really good payday, I think, for the Seahawks. I think they're going to extend him this year, and I think that for them to get into the playoffs as well was added bonus as well, because I don't think many people had Seattle, getting into the postseason this year. I don't think a lot of people had them on the drawing board. I think Geno Smith definitely proved a lot of people wrong this year, and I think that for him to win Comeback Player of the Year, was really satisfying, at least for him, and I think with the team.
Next up, we are going to talk about our Walter Payton Man of the Year reaction, and that is to Dak Prescott, a man that's good on and off the field. And I'll tell you, he deserves that award, I'll tell you.
Yeah, Dak for the most part, I think, is a really good guy. He goes out in the community. He does a lot of good things out there. I mean, typically this has kind of been the Keen Award to Russell Wilson because of the amount of volunteer stuff Russell Wilson does with him and Sierra. They go do a lot of stuff, out at hospitals and doing a lot of charity work. But I think with Dak Prescott, he does a lot of good things, out there in the community. He goes out, kind of does a lot of things to kind of give back. I think a lot of people that give back in this day and age, I think, are great people. Because they take a lot of their time out, at least just for a little bit, but it makes somebody's day. I don't know, at the end of the day. And congratulations to Dak. Really good, well deserving type of award for a guy like him.
And next up, we're going to talk about our reaction to. We don't have much to say about who is our NFL Most Valuable Player award, and that is Patrick Mahomes. I'll tell you, Mahomes had a great year. I mean, second MVP in his career. He's already putting together on a Hall of Fame career here.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. He pretty much had unanimous voting. I saw the votes, and I think that it's like one vote for guy Josh Allen. I don't know about Joe Burrow.
Oh, I'd like to see Josh Allen win an MVP award.
That'd be cool. That'd definitely be cool.
I think he will at some point.
Yeah, I think with Mahomes though, I mean he's just on this track right now. He does so many good things. He is definitely the most valuable player. You kind of look in just every way, the way the guy can change the game. He never gets rattled. He's just you look at quarterbacks and, he is just the franchise. You think about the Chiefs now, you think of one man and really one man only, and that's Patrick Mahomes. Yes, you have Travis Kelce. Yes, you have a guy, Andy Reid. But, you don't have Patrick Mahomes of the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs definitely aren't the same type of team. He is an elite type of player, and he just does a lot of things that absolutely just they wow you. Even if you just see it, it's just he's just that guy. And gotten the chance to see him play in person too. It just takes me a lot to just kind of see how lucky we are at the future quarterbacks. And Mahomes is kind of now the new ruler, I guess you can say, for quarterbacks. You see, I think Mahomes, then you have Allen Burrow. You have a lot of just other great guys, great quarterbacks. But when you think of the tier that's probably at the top now for quarterbacks, and that is Mahomes. So congrats to Mahomes. Well deserved. And now he gets to focus on playing in the Super Bowl. So he better
break the if the Chiefs win. I think you gotta hope he's gonna have to break the Kurt Warner curse, because basically that's on a 12-game losing streak if it comes to the Warner curse.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that type of curse until I read about some comments on Twitter about that. But yeah, I mean, I know people obviously get into the cliche stuff about it, but I think that personally he's going to be okay in this game. I think really that he's going to come in with a really hungry type of attitude. He remembered the last time he played in the Super Bowl and he did not play great at all. To be fair, his offensive line was out, but I think he wants to play a lot better in this Super Bowl. I think he realizes that. I think personally in Super Bowls, Mahomes actually hasn't been great in. I think he's been very average, and I think that Mahomes has to kind of now show why he's the best, why he's the best in the league as of right now, because definitely he has a lot of accolades kind of show, at least MVPs and a couple championship appearances. I'm not saying Super Bowls just yet, but he just has a lot of things at least to kind of back up in terms of why he's a very, very good quarterback, at least in this day and age. And yeah, I mean, we'll have to see if he can break it. I think personally, I mean, as my prediction, I have Patrick Mahomes win the Super Bowl MVP. And I think, the curse, I guess you can say, will be lifted if that's the case.
Well, now we got to talk about our Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 23 here. I mean, here are the members. Darrelle Revis, former Patriot, but will always be remembered as a New York Jet. DeMarcus Ware, Dallas Cowboys. Joe Thomas, spent his entire career with the Cleveland Browns. Rondé Barber. Oh, man, I can't wait to see Rondé in the Hall of Fame here. One of the members of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl winning team. Zach Thomas as well with Miami and Dallas. Ken Riley, defensive back from Cincinnati. Don Coryell, the head coach of the San Diego Chargers. Joe Klecko from the New York Jets. And also Dallas Cowboy legend Chuck Howley. I think what stood out to me in this Hall of Fame class is basically getting Rondé Barber in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good candidates out there for that Hall of Fame class. Rondé definitely has been deservedly, trying to get in for a while, and he's finally in. I'm really excited to see Vince Wilfork getting into the Hall of Fame soon. I'm really excited to see kind of the Patriots kind of legends coming up soon. Ty Law definitely probably be coming up.
Well, Ty Law's already in.
Yeah, he's in. But guys like Gronkowski, Brady's going to be coming up in a couple of years. But
he's not eligible yet.
Not eligible just yet. I mean, he'll be eligible soon though. But yeah, I think with Revis, Revis and Barber are two guys. I think that I would kind of look at that class and be like, yeah, these are two guys that really stand out to me in making this this Hall of Fame.
Well, we got to talk about some Patriots news now here. So Nick Caley is now coming into my neck of the woods. He's now the new tight ends coach of the Los Angeles Rams, joining Sean McVay. You also know former Patriot captain Ryan Wendell is also going to be part of the McVay coaching staff with as well. So two former Patriots will be with the Rams here. But I'll also tell you that I don't know if you saw my Instagram story that I looked at the projected coach offensive staff with Bill O'Brien, and the Patriots just brought back, I don't know if you know him, Bill Belichick's first draft pick as the head coach of the Patriots is back on our staff. That's Patriots offensive line coach Adrian Clem. What are your thoughts on Clem coming back to the New England Patriots as their offensive line coach?
I like it. I like how they should have had someone like this last year, kind of setting an offensive coaching staff where you have Bill, of course, leading it, and then you have kind of other guys.
Which Bill? Belichick or O'Brien?
Bill Belichick. Yeah, because
I got confused when you said Bill because you have O'Brien and you have Belichick.
Yeah, but I'm glad Belichick finally has a plan like he didn't have last year and plays with the coaching staff, because I think it'll do wonders. I think it helps the team out, kind of knowing their specifics of what they have to do. The offensive line, I think, had some really tough times last year, and I think that Clem can really help.
Is it because Matt Patricia couldn't coach offensive line?
That a little bit. Just I think the play calling too. The offensive line really. I don't know if they were buying in a lot half the time, but I think really when you have O'Brien and you have Clem, two guys I think that have had really good experience in the league, and know really what they're probably doing too. Like I said, it can't be worse than last year. It really can't. I think that the Patriots add some pieces for Mac Jones offensive wise. I mean, I think personally that Isaiah Wynn could be a cut candidate. I think that potentially they move on from a guy like Trent Brown. I think you save a lot of money that way, potentially go in the draft and get some a line help.
I think the Patriots need to go in the offensive line route in the draft. We need to get. I actually honestly think the Patriots should go get. They need to draft a left tackle or a right tackle, either
There's
side
some really
tackle.
Good guys out there for the offensive line, and you can't obviously for me, in terms of the position at football, you can't have enough depth at defensive and offensive lines. So I think personally, I think that they look more at the receiver group for. They look more at free agency and the trade market for the receiver group. I think more for the draft, they go to the lines and the secondary. So I think Clem's going to be a really good fit for the Pats. I think that he's going to really help that offensive line kind of get in tune like Dante Scarnecchia did when he was here. And that really helped out the offensive line. I think David Andrews being there too. He's a captain for this team. I think that you have a good offensive line coach and you have a good captain on that group. I think that's going to help a lot. And I think it's going to be a much better unit this season.
You're talking about much improved with Adrian Clem.
Yes.
Sorry about that. I was saying that Adrian Clem is a former Patriot player, and I really think that him being back on the staff as the offensive line coach, I really, really think that it's going to pay dividends here for the Patriots.
100%, definitely. I mean, I think the more bodies you have coaching wise, the better. And I think that there's going to be really good things coming our way this season.
With Mac, I think Mac's going to get better, but I also want to tell you that I think Jerod Mayo is likely going to get a big promotion. I think he's still going to coach the linebackers, but I do think he will be assistant head coach.
Yeah, I think that he's going to be kind of in that year where he's going to be doing a couple things. I think he's going to get kind of ready for the next. I think personally, for me, I think that he is the next guy in line. I think he is.
Absolutely. I agree. I watched him as a player. I think I loved his leadership and all that. Jerod Mayo is a champion, and I could not think of a more better guy to replace Bill Belichick in the future in Jerod Mayo. I think Jerod Mayo is going to be a player's coach. He's a guy that is going to relate to the team and all that. I think the succession plan is in place for when Bill Belichick is retiring and Jerod Mayo will eventually be our head coach.
Agreed. There's a lot of coaches now that have been past type of players. They kind of translate from one to the other. I think that's kind of the new trend we're now seeing. So for a guy like Jerod Mayo, I think that the fans would love it. I think that Belichick would love it. I think that he would go off on a good note, that he can trust the next guy in line, because sometimes you don't have that. Sometimes you have a great career, you obviously move on, and then you're like, well, then what? I think that Jerod Mayo is a perfect guy to kind of come in and really take the keys.
Well, I wonder what his role will be. He won't be head coach yet. He's going to be assistant head coach, but he's mainly going to work with the linebacking group. But also, don't be shocked if Bill Belichick gives Jerod Mayo a defensive coordinator title so that Mayo and Steve Belichick can be co-defensive coordinators and share the play calling duties on defense.
Yeah, I think Jerod Mayo, before he turns into our head coach, should be just primarily defense. I think that's really kind of where he is. That's where he played. So I think that offensively, you have O'Brien and kind of Clem, kind of those two type of guys. I think Belichick focuses on different types of, making sure guys are in the right position. And I think he's going to probably focus more on defense. If I had to probably say, I think Bill and Steve kind of talk things up defensively. I think Bill loves the defensive game planning, I think, a little bit more than the offense. And I think now with O'Brien, I don't think that Bill's going to have to worry about that, because I think last year with Patricia and Judge, obviously just.
And speaking of Joe Judge, you're going to expect Joe Judge to get reassigned. He's probably going to be part of the special teams unit.
Yeah, he's going to be right there with probably Cam McCord. Unfortunately, I don't think Cam McCord.
Well, Cam McCord, you and I wanted him fired, but.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen. So expect Cam McCord to still lead our special teams unit. I don't really agree with it, but I think Belichick has trust in him.
Yeah, I think personally that if maybe if a court had somebody with him, maybe it kind of light a fire under him that he knows that the more that he's not doing his job, they're gonna have somebody else kind of ready to take his place. But I think
That's
that
Joe
Joe Judge,
Judge. I think
yeah,
Joe Judge will be assistant special teams coach, or maybe Bill Belichick comes up with a new role like return game coordinator, and then Joe Houston could be coaching the kickers and punters.
yeah, and maybe even Judge could kind of maybe split the coaching duties with the core depending kind of how things go.
Are you talking about like special teams coordinating duties with Accord and Judge?
Yeah, for sure.
So, anyways, now we will talk. We have to talk about this here. So now the Arizona Cardinals, as I heard, they are not going to hire a new head coach until after the Super Bowl. I'm kind of having a sense here, Ben, that I think the new head coach is going to be a defensive-minded head coach, and I'm leaning towards Lou Amaruno as the new head coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I was gonna go with that guy. I think the defense for the Cardinals would do really good wonders. I don't think the Cardinals had a really good defense last year. I mean,
But you
they
need
obviously
someone to work with Kyler Murray.
definitely agreed. Kyler
But
Murray, I think
Kyler's not going to be playing until like October,
mhm,
depending on how his rehab goes.
agreed. I think that they have to get a guy for Kyler Murray's services because I think that with him and Kingsbury for a while there's definitely some rifts, and I think that they're going to have to get that new guy helping him. But I think that also with him being a defensive minded type of coach, I think he did great things in Cincinnati on for that defense. I think that would help a really Arizona needed type defense to kind of get back to where they want to be. And I think that defensively, they have some pieces there, guys like Buda Baker and Isaiah Simmons, but they need to have the coaching to kind of help them. I think that when you have a defensive minded type of coach, I think that would really help out. So I think really the Brian Flores, of course, him going to Minnesota. Obviously, I thought he was going to go to Arizona, but now
Oh,
Brian Flores is somewhere
I
else.
thought Brian Flores would have been great in Arizona because he could have hired Nick Caley as his offensive coordinator, and then he would have hired Matt Patricia as his defensive coordinator. But speaking of Matt Patricia, I don't know what role he's going to have. Is he going to remain a New England Patriot as senior football advisor, or maybe work with the defense?
I think he's going to work with the defense, or probably in the senior role. I take that back. I think defensively they're going to have some more guys, coaching wise, that'll be with the defense. But yeah, I don't think that he's going to get let go from the organization. I think that Bill just thinks he's just too valuable to not leave. I think that he's done enough for this team for a while that he at least has um, you know you know kind of be able to stay when he
Probably
doesn't.
could it be senior football advisor or both senior football advisor slash senior defensive assistant?
Yeah, he'll probably have at least something like that.
Probably he'll just keep his title as senior football advisor,
Agreed.
but he's probably going to still be a resource to Bill Belichick and also to Gerard Mayo. I just think that I do think maybe Matt Patricia could coach the linebackers if Gerard Mayo gets a promotion to co-defensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt Patricia can just do linebackers, which I could see. But you don't think Matt Patricia is going to go despite having a bad year calling plays offensively?
Yeah, I don't personally. I think that he's going to stay within the organization. I just think it's going to be in for more of a senior role.
What senior role for the Patriots as like
Yes.
defense or something,
Yeah, he's
or
going to be.
maybe or probably linebackers coach?
Yeah.
So, anyways, now with that being said, here we got to talk about the Vikings hiring Brian Flores. Do you think that the Vikings defense is going to be better with Brian Flores?
Yes. I think that defense for the Vikings is a little aging. I think they're going to have to get a little bit younger. They might have to go in the draft to get some pieces. But Brian Flores definitely is a defensive minded type of coach. I really liked him when he was in New England. He did really good wonders with the defense from Miami when he coached there, and he is a buyers in type of coach. I think that would really help a defense that was really in dire need for that last year. They really couldn't stop a nosebleed at all last year defensively, and so I'm really excited for the Vikings defense with Brian Flores.
Yeah, Brian Flores and that defense is going to be really, really special. But now we got to talk about the Titans here. I mean, they let go of Todd Downing, but they promoted this familiar face in Houston. That is Tim Kelly. He was the passing game coordinator, and he is now the offensive coordinator for the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the Titans, they're kind of an interesting team.
But, I felt like that the Titans should have gone with Greg Roman.
Yeah, I mean,
and he's being passed up, and I do think he needs an offensive coordinator job.
I 100% agree. I wonder what the Titans are going to do if they go with the kind of the scramble route and keep Malik Willis as starter, or they're going to move on from Tannehill. I think personally that Tannehill is probably going to stay, if I had to ask, because I haven't really seen much rumors in terms of this offseason about him. Obviously, things can obviously change, but I don't know. I think personally that, the passing game coordinator, I think they're just going to have to try to get some pieces. They're going to have to try to figure out some.
I think the Commanders could make sense for Greg Roman.
I think so. I think that Greg Roman needs a run first type heavy type team. And I wonder what the, Sam Howell, maybe younger guy might focus more as a running type of, quarterback kind of early on with some of their pieces. So, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, so that's what I'm kind of thinking they're about for Greg Roman, but I'm kind of thinking that he should have gotten the Tennessee Titans job, because I really think he would have been good for Derrick Henry and also for Malik Willis.
Oh, yeah, for sure. 100%.
So anyways, here now, it's been a good show, Ben, but our final thoughts is that I'm looking forward to a great Super Bowl, but next week, we are going to be recapping the Super Bowl on Extra Point. Ben, what are your final thoughts? And you're going to Boston.
I am going to Boston. I'm excited for this. Haven't been to a Celtics game in a long time. Going to bring my brother for his first time. So, and then I'm seeing some friends Saturday night here in the area, and then enjoying the Super Bowl. So,
where are you watching the Super Bowl? Here at your home in Connecticut, or are you going to do it in Boston?
No, I'll be only going to Boston for the night, and I'll be back in Connecticut. It's like Saturday afternoonish. I'll be
bus or train.
I'm taking a train over there.
How long is that train ride, by the way, from Connecticut to Boston?
It's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
You catch the train at like New London Station to Boston?
Bridgeport. Actually, it's only a city over. I can catch it from there. And so,
or what if you go to Foxborough for the Patriots? Do you take a train there?
Depends, Laura. I probably, depending on how I feel, I could drive it if I wanted to.
Because it's not far from where you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a day trip. It's you can leave at like 8 a.m. in the morning and get there probably between 10:40 and 11 a.m. and get there for a 1 o'clock kickoff. It's all about parking. That's the biggest thing about Gillette Stadium, is making sure you get there early enough for parking.
Anyways, that's going to do it for Extra Point. For Ben, Loro signing off for now. Have a great night, everyone.
Take care.
Chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can drive the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I ain't choose the gang chose me. I'm a champion, I need some trophies. I can drive the lane, I can shoot the three. I can run 100 yards, I can throw it deep. I got what it take to be a champ. You know bars life, you should come and join the camp. Title after title, put my rivals off the map. Thought you had the trophy till I came in for the snatch. I was born in it, not sworn in it. I ain't come to